Hey everyone, this is Gaming Solo, and today, while you watch me fail at attempting piracy, we're going to be talking about item recovery. So, the piracy thing, I'm not a pirate in game, but I got a little inspired watching some of Voidy's videos. If you know Voidy here on YouTube, one of my favorite content creators, hilarious guy. Um, he does a lot of pirating, and it's entertaining to watch. I thought I'd try my hand at a little bit of impromptu kind of pirating, just waiting on the ground and trying to sneak on a ship, let the ship jump into quantum, and then kill the crew, kind of thing. But you'll see in the video that it never really worked out for me. But anyway, as you're watching, we're going to talk about item recovery. So this was supposedly one of the most requested features, and I absolutely understand it. I have a couple armors that I rarely wear because I don't like losing them, and I like pulling them out when I'm doing something safe. I think they look great. I know aesthetic in an MMO is a big thing, and you know, everyone's got their favorite stuff, right? And their favorite gear, and some of that gear is not available in game for purchase, and that's kind of my biggest problem with it, right? If you could purchase the gear in the game, it wouldn't be a big deal, but you typically cannot purchase some of this gear that came out of the shop or came as rewards and things like that. One thing that comes to mind that's in the shop right now is Red Alert. You can get the armors, but you cannot get them in red. Some people like red or the red aesthetic. Um, Either way, getting stuff that you have in your hangar that you own, whether it's through earning it or through monetary means, we got to be able to get back, right? That's something that's been a big request. They said it's the one of the biggest things people have requested, and I'm on board with that. However, what I'm not on board with is knee jerk reaction, tier zero solutions at this point. In the year of making the game more playable, they really should have this stuff figured out. And it sounds like tier one is probably a better state for these things. Tier zero, I think, is a little rough. Now, I'm not against the idea of respawning with the armor and weapons that you had on you, as long as those items are from your hangar, not from your in game inventory. For those of you that might not understand the difference, in game inventory does overlap with hangar. Your hangar items do show up in your in game inventory, but items that are on your hangar are more account bound, and even if you lose them in the next patch, whether it's a dot something or a major patch, you'll see those items restored to your in-game inventory because they're tied to your real life hangar versus items that you go buy in the in-game shops with AUEC. So the items bought with AUEC, even at a tier zero, I don't think should have been part of this, or items looted out in the world, right? Railguns are one thing. Um, Now railguns are not going to be rare because once you get a railgun, you've got it forever, right? No one's going to steal it. You're not going to lose it randomly. Um, when you die by running into a planet or running into an invisible asteroid, like there's no way that those things are going to start disappearing from the game now. So because now that you're going to spawn with everything that's equipped to you, everyone's going to equip those. Like they're going to have them on their person, and short a bug happening during their death and respawn, they'll have it back. Sure, they might not have the ammo, but they have the weapon. I really think they should have baked this a little longer and maybe made it a 4.1.1 and got us closer to tier 1, or maybe called an iteration of this tier 1. Tier 0 just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. Um, but now, economically, not that there's an economy in the game, but economically, you go buy one set of every type of armor you want, and unless you're storing it on a ship that's getting destroyed or something, you're not going to lose it. You're just not going to lose it. If it's on your body, you're not going to lose it. So there's no more money sink there. There's not a big incentive on looting equipment in the field. If you do a bunker run or something of that nature, there's no reason to take the armor off those bodies. You don't need extra armor unless you're going to sell it, which monetarily is not very efficient unless you just enjoy that loot, right? There's a lot of better ways to get money than looting the corpses from bunker missions at this point. It used to be nice. I used to do it, but it's not too great now. Especially when you can just fly around in a F8C Mark II and do medium to high bounties and finish each one in 2 minutes and get, I don't know, what's the payout for those? In Pyro, it's like 40,000, 50,000 credits. So it's really not a great option. So there's no real reason to loot people now. There's definitely no reason to loot players. NPCs, you might find some interesting stuff if you do loot them. But players, there's no reason to loot them unless you might think they have some cards for the contested zones in their backpack, because the backpack and the pockets are going to be the only thing you can loot them or loot from them. It's just weird. It's definitely weird. I know the reason they're doing this. They want to make more money off of the armor, and nobody wants to buy the armor in the shops. And people might be a little more willing to do so if they know that they're not going to lose it. They did just release for Fortuna event all the new racing armors, so I'm sure there's a little incentive there too. But I don't agree with releasing it in the state. If they could have released Tier 0 as is, only for hangar items, again, I would have been okay with it. But the iteration they're doing here is just, it's just wrong. I always envisioned this whole insurance thing, which they've complicated. And I don't know if they're going to go back on it. They said it in CitizenCon. They've said all kinds of things in CitizenCons in the past that have not and will not go to fruition now. This is one that I kind of hope does, that occurs with. They've complicated insurance. They've made the whole idea of 6-month insurance pointless. We don't know yet how they're going to implement insurance in the game, but I would suspect that all of your hangar items you'll be able to pay an insurance fee on, even if you don't keep the insurance on it, because you're going to have a warranty on it, and you'll be able to get it back. That's looking like how they're going to go about this. That's my theory and guess anyway. But items being registered and insured as well. The tier 1 where they talk about your hangar items being automatically insured on the kiosks for your armor and your weapons. Great idea. And then if you want to insure the other stuff you have, you can do so at the terminal. That's perfect. That's exactly how it should work out the gate, not this weird respawn stuff. Maybe too, since this is the year of stability, they're looking to try to get more people in, and maybe they feel like if they lower the ceiling a little bit, even if it's temporary, they might be able to get more people into the game. If you saw the numbers of new accounts last year, it was kind of abysmal. They didn't put on a lot of numbers. They made a lot of money, but they were milking us, people who have already backed the project. The new player rate is way down from what it used to be. So I think their thinking is if they lower the ceiling a little bit, get people in and interested, when they do start implementing the insurance stuff, it's not as big of a headache for those players that entered at that lower ceiling, because they're getting used to the game. We all have to keep in mind that the learning curve for this game is really steep. And if this game is going to go mainstream, it either is going to mean people are ready for that high learning curve and that high level of skill that goes into playing the game and being really, really good at all facets of the game, or they're going to have to dumb the game down for the common, WoW audience that likes to run in and not pay attention and stand in the fire, right? Which I don't think anybody that's a current backer wants. I think most of us are happy with the difficulty level, barring a couple details like AI acting stupid sometimes, or sometimes acting a little too good, as I've seen a couple times getting sniped before I was actually spotted. At least I don't think I was spotted. Maybe, server problems made it to where I was spotted and I didn't know it. But yeah, I don't think anybody wants it to get a lot easier. It's in a weird state, and I really think that this tier 0 is trying to pull more people into the game and make more money off of the armor and the weapons in the shop. It'd be interesting to see a breakdown of what people are spending money on. Obviously, ships are going to be the highest number, especially since most of them are way more expensive. Actually, all of them are more expensive than any single item for FPS in the shop. There are some packages in the shop that get above some of the ships, but definitely the ships are bringing the money. But I'm just wondering, number of transactions, right? Like, does somebody own 2 ships and 10 sets of armor, or does someone own 10 ships and two sets of armor? I'm kind of curious on that, and if that's part of the marketing push to push those numbers up. And by giving us the tier 0 and eventually tier 1 and 2 now, while the game's still kind of a buggy mess, maybe they feel like they'll be able to acquire more of those sales in that part of the store. Which, single transactions, obviously, $15 isn't a lot, but when a lot of people spend $15, adds up quick, right? If 1 million players spent $15 to get a set of armor, you did the math. 15 million bucks. If the armor's not on sale, right? Sometimes it's cheaper than that. But anyway, that's kind of my take on the tier 0. I am interested to see how insurance is going to work. I have maneuvered around, and everything that I own ship-wise is LTI. I did that knowing or not knowing how things were going to look with insurance, so I just wanted to make sure insurance wasn't a big pain in the butt. I know that they've said it's not meant to be a big pain in the butt, but they're going to have something that's a money sink in this game. They've already, with the tier 0, tier 1, tier 2 insurance situation for armor, they're already going to neuter the ability of crafters to make a lot of money in this game. If any of you played Star Wars Galaxies before the NGE, even after the NGE, when they started adding, the ability for crafters to create armor attachments, being an armor smith was a pretty big deal, and weaponsmith, because in that game before the NGE, which is called New Game Enhancements by them, everything deteriorated, so you couldn't just buy something once and you have it forever. You had to repair it. Repairing wasn't efficient, and eventually, even after you've repaired it, even if you had the best repairing tool and you had skill points in armor repair or whatnot, you eventually were going to have to buy new armor. Like, your armor was just shot; it was irreparable. And it was one of the money sinks, and one of the things you had to take in consideration when you were playing the game. There were people that played classes that didn't require armor just so that wasn't a cost, right? Like, it was that big of a mental thing of, how am I going to pay for this? Well, if I just play this class, I get innate armor, right? So armor and weapons are a huge deal in a game like this, and not having them deteriorate, and not having a use for crafters crafting them, or even being someone who, even if it's for yourself, keeping up blueprints and doing mining on the side and downtime and stuff to be able to recraft armor when you need it. You just gotta throw insurance on it once you get it, and then get it back, right? It's weird. It's definitely weird. I think they're gonna have to rethink this. I think the backlash from the community is gonna be a little on the high side for this, especially when crafters start talking, right? Because if they bring crafting into the game and you're able to craft armor, they're going to realize really, really fast that you're not going to be able to make a living doing that in the game. You're not going to be able to make a lot of credits. You might be able to initially, but once that drop off happens, you have no income. So there's a lot of considerations they have to take into account when they're designing this stuff. I'm glad they're doing it now while it's in alpha and they have time to change it. I guess my biggest message is, it being an alpha and things changing as much as they do, we as a community need to be open to those changes when they happen, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are super ecstatic about the system, and then there's people like me that are like, they should have done a little better. And then, of course, there's the other side of the extreme where they absolutely hate it and don't want it to happen at all, right? So I'm in the middle. I do think, real money value items should persist. You shouldn't lose those in the game. It's a problem CIG's done to themselves by selling those items, and it's going to be a nightmare for them to unravel. Anyway, let me know what you think. Drop your comments below. I look forward to them. look at Fridays as my normal cadence now. I think getting some gameplay footage during the week is going to be the cadence for me. I did start a new job a couple weeks ago, and I'm getting used to kind of the flow of things. I think Fridays are going to be the best time for these videos now. So scratch Mondays, watch out for videos on Fridays. Make sure you hit subscribe and the bell if you want the notification. And I will catch you guys later.